Hey everybody, my name is Aaron Shea. Welcome to Habitat. Now we have a fun show. Brianna Barron graduated from CCS in 2014, and during the GAS conference, there was a alumni show that we're going to be reviewing today. It's going to be fantastic, and I'm really excited to see the work and the artists that were invited to participate and have a legacy at CCS. So, without further ado, I think you're seeing my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you are. We're going to kick into some of the things that are going on in the gallery. We have Zooms every Saturday. Next weekend, we're going to be visiting with artists Zora Palova and Stefan Pala from, I think, Slovenia. And it won't be live because we're going to be doing a art fair locally here. And we'll be sharing a video or two that we've done with them in a Q&A, which is going to be fantastic to learn more about them and their work. And if you happen to be in the area, I highly recommend you come and see their show here at Habitat. They are making some of the most incredible pieces, large scale glass I've ever seen. And if you've seen their work, you know what I'm talking about. Our Glass Coast weekend, we have selected dates. We have actually locked down the same facility at the Ringling College of Art and Design. It's their soundstage again. 34th ceilings. We turn it into a display space. Come and see us if you're in Sarasota in Florida in February, early February. You'll love it. I'll love to see you. Again, Zora Palova coming up this upcoming week to see their show. It lasts for about a little less than a month, but you'll be able to see it if you come visit us. So without further ado, I want to welcome you, Brianna. Come and say hello to everybody. I'll stop sharing my screen and tell us a little bit about what we're going to see today.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. Feel free to do that. People are starting to join as we proceed. So.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about this show. We were able to feature alumni and faculty from the beginning of the CCS glass department. So we've got a pretty good retrospective of people that have come through and kind of the styles that have formed and changed throughout the history of CCS and the glass and crafts department. So I'm going to go through kind of in chronological order of people who have been alumni and faculty and alumni turned faculty. And we're just going to go all the way from Herb Babcock to the most recent graduates in 2023.
So Herb was the very first person to ever do glass at CCS? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, no, but he was a really important part of the program. And so I'd like to turn it over to him to talk a little bit about his time at the college and about his piece that he put in the alumni show.
Okay, just briefly, the glass department actually started it in '68 with Gil Johnson, who set up the first furnace. And then Biz Littell came in 70, 71, and he's basically set up the glass studio in the Yamasaki building. And I came in 73 and, well, actually 74. And from there on, I stayed. And all my background was in steel sculpture, and I came to glass because I love playing with fire. I also did forging, and it was really intriguing to actually deal with the material that could be realized, a finished piece in 45 minutes at that time. And that's what intrigued me. The irony is that I kept being more and more in glass studios, and when the program was actually offered to me, I said, well, I'll just try this out and see if I can do the same in glass that I've been doing in these other materials. So I did vessels for 10 years, and then I started doing metal and glass. But I think what I ended up doing because of my background, when I came to the students, and of course everyone loved playing with fire, and the instantaneous of this material, it was very addictive. And I tried to teach that it was a craft material, that you could do things in the tradition, the greater tradition and process of the medium, or you could take the spontaneity of the material and direct it towards issues of fine art. And so it was really up to the students. It wasn't up to me. And I think what the show proved out is that it sort of sunk in because the diversity of the people showing was just really great. And of course, now I left in 13 was my last year. And Kim Hardy is taken over, and she is now presenting for the students of the future their potential careers. And as all markets do, they change. And so it's continually being updated. So, and also I might say what I love about being part of the Studio Glass in Detroit is the number of other studios that were also fostered in the metro area. The Glass Academy, Epiphany Studio, Axiom Glass, the Acorn Studio, and also we had the Henry Ford Greenfield Village, where current students and alumni could work as stepping stones to pursue their interest in more skills and decide where they wish to go with their own studio later. And I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm glad you mentioned all of those studios because there is this interconnectedness in the Detroit glass scene between a lot of the alumni from CCS going off to form their own studios or working at these various studios. And I do talk about that a little bit as we get through. So thank you very much, Herb. The next artist who participated is Albert Young, and he was a huge inspiration for me during my time at CCS. I'm not sure if he's here right now. Albert, are you in here?
I don't see him.
Okay. Okay, well then I will be happy to speak about his work a little bit. He's an internationally renowned sculptor and master glassblower from Detroit. His background is in ceramics, but he does a lot of these cast glass into metal. And he owns and operates Michigan Hot Glass Workshop, which is a really successful, prominent studio in the city of Detroit that's still run out of the Russell Industrial Center. And he continues to be a wealth of knowledge and inspiration to studio artists in the region.
I might add, if I may, his BFA was from CCS, and yes, he got very involved in glass while finishing out his ceramics, but he also went to Wayne State eventually to get his master's, and there he fell under the influence of what you call the cast corridor artists, who were a very phenomenal group of individuals in terms of representing what the Metro Detroit is about. And so I would say that Albert is definitely a Detroit artist.
Yeah, agreed.
Back to you.
Then we had a piece from Maxwell Davis, and he taught from 1973 to 2018 at CCS. He taught in the furniture department. He provided instructions in ceramics, glass, industrial design for nearly 29 years and served as the head of the furniture area. Chris Nordine graduated from CCS in 1991. And you might know the Glass Academy in Dearborn. He now owns and operates that with glass artist Michelle Plusinski. This was a really beautiful Marini piece that we were lucky enough to display at the exhibition. April Wagner, she opened Epiphany Glass while she was still a student at CCS. And in her own words about her work, she says, her intention is to create objects that are captivating to look at in their environment. Whether a private, public, or corporate space, I choose colors, shapes, and the scale of the work in direct response to that specific environment and the viewer. Ultimately, the viewer must consider the fragility, strength, and beauty of this material. It's like giving the eyes and a little piece of candy to suck on and savor for the rest of your life. I think that's a really fun way to think about glass.
It is.
Jeff Mack actually taught at CCS for about 3 years, and he is the program's supervisor at the Corning Museum of Glass, the Hot Glass program supervisor. So he was in town for the conference and was able to drop off a piece that we could show at the exhibition. He worked as a master glassblower, factory stem maker, artist assistant, and gaffer for internationally recognized artists. He has keen interest in historic glassmaking techniques, and he studied in Murano. So he does a lot of Venetian and Milanese glass. Andrew Madvin is an artist I know very well. He had originally intended to study metalsmithing and jewelry, but once he got to CCS, he found himself captivated by glass. In the year 2000, he opened Axiom Glass, a state-of-the-art facility for creating his work. The studio was in the Russell Industrial Center for nearly 22 years and recently upgraded to a new location in Royal Oak that is just down the road from Habatat. So the next time you're at the gallery, I definitely recommend you go and check that out. The space is beautiful and the people are wonderful. We had a piece by John Rizzo, who is a mixed media artist. We can see a little bit of the use of glass that he's done here in this wooden wall hanging sculpture. He's a visual artist, sculptor, furniture maker, and glass artist. And amongst his many other creative endeavors, he's also the founder of Fourth Wall Concepts, a design, fabrication, and consultancy company with a focus on working with clients to bring their visions to life. So he graduated from the school in 2001 and came back as faculty and woodshop manager. Josh Wojcik, he's a Detroit-based glass artist who reaches outside of conventional glass blowing to lend a new perspective and insight on the material and process, exploiting both the inherent fragility and structural nature of glass. His use of the material expresses the full spectrum of what glass can be. He's currently the crafts program manager at the Henry Ford Museum, as well as a former CCS faculty member. Lucille Olechowski, she was actually the co-curator of this exhibition. So we worked really hard to select these artworks and promote this show and put everything together in a way that we thought was cohesive. So I do want to thank her for all of the hard work that she put into this show. She's an alumni turned faculty, and her career in glass has taken her all over the country. She says that this work was influenced by her prior love of drawing, graphic novel characters, and writing graffiti. They also serve as a tribute to her childhood friend, Jordan Vaughn, a muralist who passed away in 2015. Another work of Lucy's that was in the exhibition was called Shifty Little Guy. They're a group of vessels that combine cold working, assemblage, and cutting and carving into blown vessels and then reassembling them. The muted gray palette allows Lucy the opportunity to really focus on form and surface, and it forces the viewer to confront the subtle details within the piece. And then in 2007, Brent Swanson graduated from CCS. His work has been featured in galleries across the country. And in his own words, Brent says his work is a cornucopia of both hand-sculpted and blown glass wares. The vast array of skills he has accumulated over the years has allowed him to create a variety of styles and concepts. Brent's products range from elegant stemware, large indoor and outdoor sculpture, to upscale lighting. And he currently works as the glass program manager at the Flint Institute of Art. So we really like the mixed media aspect of this piece. The way that the glass is displayed in a really unique way on top of that wooden structure was something that we were really intrigued by in this work. Stephen Jaclyn, he graduated in 2007 as well. He's a highly skilled artist who has worked as a glassblower at the Henry Ford Museum, Axiom Glass in Detroit, Studio Belvetro in California, and Glassy Baby. These Marini bowls perfectly showcase his technical skill and mastery of the material. And as I'm going through this stuff, if any of the artists are here and want to speak about their own work, please let me know. And if anybody has any questions too while we're going through it, I'd be happy to field those. Next, we have Robert Madvin, and he's actually the younger brother of Andrew Madvin, who I talked about a few moments ago. He was introduced to glass while he was still in high school by his older brother, and he studied at both CCS and the University of Hawaii. Then that's where he conceptualized his most prominent series called Pohaku, meaning rock or stone. Ancient Hawaiians would stack stones upon one another to create rock sculptures used as navigational instruments throughout the islands. Moving on, we have Christine Osinski. She studied illustration at CCS and didn't start working with glass until after she graduated. Since then, she's studied with many world-renowned artists and honed her skills as a sculptor and glassmaker. I really loved this kiln-formed piece. It really showcases the texture of the material, and I think it adds a nice variety to the rest of the work that's in the show. There's another piece of hers called Elephant Study. She was able to take a class with the artist Grant Garmezi, who you might be familiar with, a really talented sculptor. So I think it just shows the breadth of the skill sets of all the artists who have gone through the CCS program. We have Adam Thomas. He's an immensely skilled craftsman in glass, and he says this about his practice. Making art is a spiritual endeavor that provides me with a way to explore and work through emotions and personal ideas. It has given me a purpose and self-worth that has allowed me to develop my identity as an artist and a human. Another example of Adam's work here, again, just showcasing his super technical skill in glass sculpting, is this piece called Skeleton Key. So Adam graduated in 2008. And then we have David Helm, who graduated in 2013. Our time at CCS did overlap a little bit, and it was really interesting to watch him work because his attention to detail was so focused, and all of his artwork came out looking just absolutely immaculate and perfect. He actually was more of a non-traditional student. He came to CCS after retirement. He was a skilled trades auto worker and attended CCS, earning a bachelor's degree in 2013. Though he had been creating stained glass since the 1970s, this was his first foray into fine art glass. Ian Zapico, I believe he was going to be with us today, but I don't see his name on the list. So I'm happy to speak about Ian's work on his behalf. He's another artist whose time overlapped with mine at CCS. His use of materials to express narrative was something I always found both inspiring and intriguing within his work. So these robots that he's been sculpting have so much character and depth to them. And I love the way that he utilizes paints and enamels and carving techniques to create surface decoration and really tell a story through his pieces. Next, we have Alan, who is here to speak about his own work. So I'm going to pass it off to him. Thank you for being here.
Happy to. These were made after I graduated, and I used them as sort of using fauna as an inspiration to create wearable decorative objects. These were made on the torch, and that's where I've been for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's really cool to see Alan's progression as an artist, because during his time at CCS, he was very focused on developing the technical skills. You made a lot of goblets and a lot of really sculptural items, and it's cool to see that translate into these flamework pieces. Again, that attention to detail that you have is something that I always really appreciated about you, Alan.
Would love to see him being worn.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
More pictures.
Alan was my bench partner during my time at CCS, and I wouldn't have been able to make half of the work that I made in college if it wasn't for his assistance. So thank you for that, Alan.
Right back at you. Nothing I made would have happened without you. So.
Okay, so Alan and I actually graduated at the same time in 2014. So this is some of the work that I had displayed during the show. This is from a series called Celestial. So this work seeks to capture the mystique and wonder of both mushrooms and the cosmos by juxtaposing the familiar form of the mushroom with celestial elements. I aim to evoke a sense of awe and fascination, inviting viewers to contemplate the interconnectedness of nature and the universe. So I was lucky enough to come back to CCS as faculty in both foundations and the crafts department. And I recently moved to Arizona to accept a position as the kiln shop manager at the Sonoran Glass School, which is a nonprofit that focuses on public outreach in the arts.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So Kim Hardy took over as section lead in 2014. She is an artist and scholar whose work investigates the connection between craft and performance through sculpture, installation, video, and performance. She is heavily informed by her training as a glassblower and is interested in undoing traditional methods of making and investigating how materials can confound their function. Kim was completely essential to the planning and organizing of the GAS conference that took place in Detroit this past June. So a big shout out to her. And the work that she's been creating recently from a series called Imaginary Anatomy really showcases just what you can do with glass, combining things hot and assembling things in the shop, and then cutting and cold working and polishing. These pieces are just so labor intensive and absolutely stunning to see in person. So we were really happy to have one of these in the exhibition.
Mhm.
So Andy Koupal, he is not an alumni of CCS, but he is from the area, and he came on as faculty in 2014, teaching in glass casting and glass blowing. His work is an evolution of traditional glassmaking techniques, and he grew up with a keen eye and passion for modern and contemporary design. He's especially inspired by the cultural landscapes of the area represented in his sculptural works. And he went to RIT, where he got his BFA. And he's worked at Simon Pierce, the Corning Museum, and of course, the Henry Ford Museum of Glass, where many, many CCS alumni go through. I actually have one of these pieces in my house right now, and I'm really excited about it. Okay, Leslie Cislo, she graduated in 2015. She's a multi-talented artist whose work spans many materials. During her time at CCS, she was split between the glass department and the furniture department, studying under Albert Young and Max Davis, whose work we saw earlier in the presentation. So this is a kiln form series that she's been making recently. That's a pretty big departure from the work that she was making in college, but we love to see that evolution and growth within the artists. So we were happy to include these as well. Matt Kolbrenner, these are his threaded vessels, really beautiful textural pieces. It's hard to resist the urge to touch the surface of these when you see them in the gallery. He owns and operates Studio MK on Detroit's East Side. And he opened that studio in 2018 as a glass and steel fabrication space, offering full service custom design and fabrication solutions to artists, architects, and everyone in between. Allie McAughey, she wasn't part of the glass program at CCS, but she started working with the material towards the end of her college career. She now uses it as a prominent component in her work, and she also runs the Wyandotte Art and Glass Center with her partner, Tim Southward, who is a CCS glass alum. So I really love the way that she incorporates glass into these collage pieces. It's really an unexpected use of the material, and she's definitely someone to look out for. And Spencer is here. I would love it if you would talk about your work here. He's currently the production manager at Axiom Glass, and he has also assisted me for countless hours, which I am very, very grateful for. So take it away, Spencer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Spencer. This piece that I had in the show, I was playing with this series called Contained Chaos for a while I was at CCS, just kind of going through the different versions and playing around with the material. I'd like to juxtapose the fluidity of glass along with tight lines, geometric shapes, stuff like that. So with this piece, utilizing the transparency while having stuff inside. And now as the series kind of evolves, I'm kind of letting the chaos out, as you will, kind of creating classic forms using the fluidity and, a blown kind of tighter geometric shape. Just kind of playing with the different qualities of the glass.
Yeah, and I love these pieces in their texture and their dimensionality and just the way that you use transparency, opacity, and he's a wizard with color. So it's really fun to see what he comes up with.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and then we have Jared Monchnik, who graduated in 2018. He's been working through this process of creating what he calls glass taffy. He's a flame worker and currently works for Andrew Madvin at Axiom Glass. He says this about his work. Like the making of candy taffy, which must remain in motion or the candy will harden, the glass making process must remain hot and in motion, otherwise the glass will harden. These pieces are an exploration in capturing and expressing movement in an organic structure. Jordon Rose is a 2019 graduate. This piece was one of the only pieces we had in the show that utilized the potential of glass and light to create dimension. I really loved the contrast of the red glass against the white backdrop, and it really stood out within the exhibition space just because of that illumination and that high contrast. So we have a piece called Cattle Car by Hailey Callahan. She studied in both glass and ceramics at CCS. This piece is a beautiful representation of the sculptural potential of stained glass, which I don't feel is something that we see often enough. The dimensionality and use of found objects within the work really push any preconceptions one might have about stained glass and what that process can yield. You can find her work at the I.M. Weiss Gallery in Detroit, and she currently works as a clay modeler for GM. Liz Coy is a phenomenal glassblower who is currently working as a full-time gaffer at the Henry Ford Museum's glass shop. She's actually the first woman to hold that position in the museum's history, so we love to see it. She is also in her first semester of teaching in the glass department at CCS. So I thought it was really important to include functional vessels within the show because, you know, it's a representation of technical skills, which can only be developed through tireless dedication to the craft. And I think that's something that a lot of us took from our time at CCS. Enrico Battan, he's a glass artist interested in archaeology, anthropology, urban collapse, and post-industrial ruins. His work is informed by his previous undergraduate studies in anthropology and archaeology. He uses found objects, mold making, and sand casting, and cold working techniques to create artworks inspired by the collapse and regrowth of the city of Detroit. So we had two pieces by Enrico. This one called Demon Drop had a really beautiful surface to it that was kind of matte. And it just sort of stood on its tiptoes in a way that was a little unnerving, but it kind of created this interaction with the viewer that I thought was really interesting. Another piece we have of his is called Urban Cave, which is cast glass and spray paint. So I love to see artists who take these traditional techniques and methods and kind of flip them on their head by applying different materials like spray paint. Seeing people kind of venture away from that purist ideology is really exciting to me. Next, we have Yaz Dababneh. I think I'm saying her last name right, I hope. She's a multi-talented artist too, working in a whole bunch of different mediums. And she says this about her work. All of my work is connected conceptually, but also through a process that I've developed over the years. I began by hand forming steel rod into an entanglement. I then vacuum form the steel object and use the vacuum form itself as an inverted positive to create a mold. I use these molds to slump rondelles I make in the hot shop. I often show the steel and glass together and even slump directly onto the steel entanglement, trapping it in the glass forever. For this specific piece, I experimented with layering various opaque colored rondelles on top of each other to see how the colors would interact. So I love to see her process. I think that she works in a really unique way. And she really made great use of the shop at CCS because we do have so many kilns and so many studios. You know, we have woodworking and metalworking and a cold shop and a casting shop. So it's cool to see people kind of jumping in between those spaces and really utilizing what the school has to offer. This is a piece by Carlee Broughton called Bubble Trouble, and she's combined glass and ceramic here. In this piece, she's exploring concepts of gender dysphoria, societal expectations, and self-imposed containment. Okay, this is a work by Ethan Crawford, who may be on this call with us. Ethan, if you're here, please speak up. Looks like that's a no. Okay. Well, we were really happy to have Ethan's work in the show. I love his use of color and texture. He uses traditional and unconventional techniques to push the limits of glass and create new bodies of work that capture the qualities unable to be produced with other materials. He says he enjoys diving in his spare time, and many of his pieces are directly influenced by these explorations. Unfortunately, the coral reefs he fell in love with are dying faster than they can naturally reproduce, and he loves recreating colorful coral and sea life in his glassworks to raise awareness for reef restoration. And these works are really, really beautiful. I have to say that the photos don't do them justice. If you see them in person, there's so much texture and so much life within them. They're really stunning. So beautiful work by Ethan Crawford. So Anna Johnson is one of the most recent graduates from CCS. She graduated in 2023. This is a piece that we included in the exhibition called Mother of Monsters. And she says it is one piece in a series that investigates the connection between monsters from Greek mythology and modern queer narratives. The ideas explored are ones of self-care and restraint, of protection, and something I ask, what does being a mother look like when it no longer is framed by gender? I aim to intrigue and disgust viewers with the strange disembodied forms and the slug-like texture achieved when layering glass powders. And then we have one more artist. Oh, here's another piece by Anna Johnson, another lighting piece called Copper Cap Lamp. Elena Esposito, she is also a recent graduate of CCS, finishing her time there in 2023. She says that her work is based on experimentation and process, focusing heavily on craftsmanship. I mainly utilize molds in my practice, primarily using kiln forming techniques such as casting, pâte de verre, and slumping. I enjoy exploring technical limitations and finding ways to stretch or accommodate them. I am interested in how light, color, texture, and shape interact and manipulate materials, their functions, and their appearance. Her work is something that I find so fascinating and amazing because she has this attention to detail in her recreations. So these saltine crackers are created through the process of pâte de verre, layering glass powders into these molds. And she's done so many tests and just like little experiments to get this process down perfectly. And I have one more example of her work here. These are glass receipts that she's created using kiln forming and decals. So again, this is something that you have to see in person because the attention to detail is just immaculate and incredible. And I think that she's a good artist to end this presentation with because again, she showcases so much of the interdisciplinary aspects of the CCS glass department and all of its potential for people to create beautiful works of art.
Great, you, Brianna. Thank you so much. This was a really incredible experience, learning a lot about so many talented people in our area and beyond who have left the area like yourselves, but you're always welcome back. That was spectacular. I learned a lot. I took some notes too, which is always great from my perspective of the gallery owner to pay attention to the talent of the future. And it's so awesome to see so many alumni people still involved in coming back and participating in this exhibition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hope many of you got to see a lot of the works during the GAS conference. I had a chance to do it. Brianna, go ahead and stop sharing your screen. That would be fantastic. And we're happy to shine a light. We have a couple of the artists that were in the reel in the NGG Not Grandma's Glass presentation in the past and in the future. So we're paying attention to some of the talent that's in the area. And I'm eager to learn more. We have opportunities to work with fabricators that jobs come through the gallery that we don't normally handle as an art gallery, where people want to create specific things in mind, And we don't work like that. You know, we have stuff on the floor. We say, this is what we can do for you. But it's interesting to see so many CCS people who are in the fabrication style and able to possibly create things for people based on their requests, which is so different, but obviously a market to approach. But I'm looking forward to seeing more talent come out of CCS. Kim Hardy's doing an amazing job, and we're grateful to have her in our Habitat family too. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody next week. If you have a chance, come and see the gallery and visit and see the show we have here, and looking forward to see these. We do these Zooms every single weekend. So if you're interested in learning more about glass, shoot me a line. I'll add you to our newsletter so you can be part of us and part of what we love and share. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brianna, for organizing and doing this show along with your partner that wasn't here, but who helped assist set the show up. I'm so grateful, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye,
And
everybody.
thank you,
Bye,
Aaron,
thank
for
you.
allowing us to do this documentation to put it out there. It's
You're
wonderful.
more,
Thank you.
more than welcome. I'll
Thank
be
you.
putting this up on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, that bell thing, whatever, and I'll see you all next week. Take care.